or you'll only see on Daybreak. Rachael Denhollander, the former gymnast who was the first to publicly accuse Dr. Larry Nassar of sexual abuse, now wants investigations of the Indianapolis Police Department and the FBI. News 8's Demi Johnson traveled to Denhollander's home in Louisville to talk about those investigations, what should happen with USA Gymnastics, and her message to sex abuse survivors. We do want to tell you that while her words are not graphic, she does talk about the sex abuse case, and it could be upsetting for some to hear. Now to our conversation with Rachael Denhollander.
When you heard other people's stories, it made you realize, I'm not crazy. Yeah. This really did happen to me. Do you, having gone through that, do you believe that that's something a lot of survivors struggle with, is questioning whether or not they know themselves well enough to know that this actually did happen to them?
Yeah, that oftentimes because the abuser is someone that you know, someone that you should be able to trust, there's this disconnect between who the person is supposed to be and what they've done. Often in childhood abuse, a child's not sexually developed enough to understand a lot of the physical contact and what's happened to their body. So there are a lot of times those questions of what really happened, how do I categorize this? And once you get to that point, then there are the questions of, was it really that bad? Should I really be this damaged? Am I just being over dramatic? Why can't I heal from it?
In the epilogue, you address the institutional change or lack thereof since Larry Nassar received his sentence, and that's been almost 2 years ago. Has USA Gymnastics changed for the better since then?
No. The honest answer is no. And we're still waiting to see any change at Michigan State University too. They have yet to commission an independent investigation to find out what went wrong and why it went wrong. They have yet to acknowledge, both organizations have yet to do that. Both organizations have yet to admit a single failure. So both organizations are entirely unwilling to take responsibility for what happened. They're entirely unwilling to admit any failures. They're entirely unwilling to even look for them. And that's devastating to all of us.
Does USA Gymnastics care about its athletes?
I think if they really cared, they would do the right thing. And they're not doing the right thing. What they've given is lip service. That's not real care.
What is the right thing?
The right thing is what I tell my kids to do. I have 4 little kids. They're 7, 5, 4, and 13 months. And if one of them hurts another one of their siblings, or they squabble over a toy, I require them to say, I am sorry that I, and to identify what they did wrong. And I'm sorry that it, and to identify the damage that they caused, that it hurt you when I hit you on the head. And then I require them to ask the question, how can I make it right? How can I repair the relationship? To identify what they did wrong, to admit the damage it caused, and to ask how they can make it right. I don't think it's too much to expect a board of adults who are in charge of the safety of children to do what I require my 3-year-old to do.
So do you think USA Gymnastics should be disbanded?
Absolutely. They absolutely need to be. Because we have given them not just 3 years since Larry, but literally decades. The problem of sexual abuse and physical abuse and emotional abuse in USA Gymnastics has been discussed for decades, literally decades. And they have buried it. They have silenced everyone who has spoken up. They have isolated the athletes who told the truth. And they have still refused to admit the problems. This isn't a Larry problem. It's not the last 3 years problem. This is a decades-long problem. It is devastating to the survivors, not just of Larry's abuse, but of the coaches' sexual and physical and verbal and emotional abuse. Because essentially what they're being told is it's not that big of a deal. It doesn't matter. And one thing that we have seen statistically over and over again is that the amount of healing a victim has and the depth of the damage from sexual abuse is definitively linked to the response they receive when they speak up. And so when USAG continues treating these women like they don't matter, like what happened to them isn't a big deal, like it's not worth firing enablers and abusers, like we're the problem, what that does is it deepens the damage.
The FBI agents who actively investigated Nassar, and he was still able to...
There were FBI agents that actually investigated him? Because I don't think they did. They didn't. They sat on it. The FBI sat on reports of sexual abuse against Nassar for 16 months. And when I came forward, they said, oh wait, we've been doing something. But the paper trail doesn't line up. The FBI didn't investigate Larry. What the FBI did was let him continue sexually assaulting children for 16 months. And I want to know why. You know, we have the IMPD who was collaborating with Steve Penny. We have emails back and forth. from the IMPD, even helping Steve Penny cover some of these things up. There needs to be an investigation into what the heck is going on at IMPD too. There's a lot that needs to be done to clean up this mess.
What would you say to someone who feels like they're not important enough or powerful enough, or their story isn't as big enough to share it and to tell someone about their abuse?
You know, everybody's voice is powerful. There is always power in speaking the truth. And like a pebble that's, that's dropped into a lake and you see the ripples, you don't always know how far the impact goes. But all of us have the ability to influence culture. All of us have the ability to influence the people around us, to have those discussions, and to reach for healing, to find your voice again. I'd say don't underestimate the impact of one person.
It doesn't matter who you are.
No, it doesn't matter who you are. I was a mom of 3 living in a 1,000-square-foot house in Louisville, Kentucky. It doesn't matter who you are. And I don't know what the result and the outcome will be of every person raising their voice. But I do know there's a great deal of power in that. And there's always an impact when you tell the truth. Always.
News 8 has reached out to each of the people mentioned and the groups that Denhollander talked about.
So let's start with the FBI. The agency said it had no comment, but an inspector general's investigation is underway on the FBI's handling of the case. Indianapolis police did share a statement with us. It says, in part, after allegations of misconduct were brought forward last fall, Chief Roach directed Internal Affairs to investigate Bruce Smith's actions during the time in question. The department then explained Internal Affairs only has the authority to look into actions that are under the scope of IMPD general orders that were carried out in official capacities. After a month-long investigation, Indianapolis police say they found Smith did not violate any IMPD policy or procedure.
As for Indianapolis-based USA Gymnastics, it also shared a response with News 8. The statement says, in part, we admire Rachael Denhollander's courage and that of all of the survivors in sharing her story and becoming an advocate for young men and women. USA Gymnastics also says it has made numerous changes to make sure it keeps, in their words, athlete safety and well-being at the forefront and promotes a culture that prevents the opportunity for abuse. The organization says one of the changes includes an updated safe sport policy adopted in June. The statement ends by acknowledging, in their words again, we need to and can do better for our athletes and the community as a whole.
We also reached out to Michigan State University, which says the school has been and is under a dozen investigations from federal and state organizations into Larry Nassar and his abuse. We have cooperated with all of the investigations. The university also says we are fully committed to accepting the responsibility of change and accountability in the findings and reports. Michigan State says it has apologized to the survivors and the community for the school's failure to protect them.